I could just play that stuff all day, but I'm not gonna. Hey folks, how you doing? Nick Jennison. It is the Monday Guitar Show. Welcome on board. We're doing the thing that we do on Mondays. We just hang out and chat about the guitar. Today we are discussing, as a continuation of our previous streams, we're discussing the harmonic minor one more time. This will be the last time we talk about it because a few of you guys asked some questions. Last time we discussed this, last time we sat on stream and we chatted about harmonic minor, the question was raised after the fact of, well, that's nice, Nick, but how do I actually play this stuff? So, you know what it is, man? We discussed a lot about the application last week. I think it was a lot of fun. But, you know, you kind of got to teach them how to fish, so to speak. So, folks, give me a second, I'm going to cough. Beg your pardon. If you're new here, very quickly, just want to say before we get cracking, welcome on board. We do this every Monday. We hang out, we chat about the guitar. We have the objective every time we do this to make you, dear viewer, a slightly better guitar player when you leave us than you were when you arrived. And today, there's no exception. Today we're going to give you the keys to the Lamborghini, so to speak. So I'm going to teach you how to find your way around the harmonic minor, both from the perspective of being a badass shredder, if that's your sort of thing, but also from the perspective of being a more informed, better equipped guitar player for making use of this very interesting scale. If you want some more some more application-based information on this, you can go and check out the stream we did last week, which was on uses for the harmonic minor. We discussed all sorts of songs where you can use it. We discussed what it is and all that sort of business. We'll go back over that a little bit this week, but today we're going to focus more on finding your way through the harmonic minor. So we're going to say some hellos, but before we do, I want to remind you that today's stream is brought to you by our friends at licklibrary.com, and I also want to show you this guy over here. This is my course that you have to check out, that goes along with these streams we're talking about. This is the Fretboard Freedom Master Plan. Let me just bring myself into shot here a little bit. So the Fretboard Freedom Master Plan is available for licklibrary.com members exclusively. You can go and check it out at licklibrary.com. Essentially what it gives you is, it gives you a look at music theory, it gives you a look at fretboard visualization, for want of a better term, and it shows you how to get around the fretboard in a way that is guitar player friendly. So we take baby steps from things that you already know, building out to a full and complete look at fretboard visualization. You go and check that out at your leisure. The stuff we're going to be looking at today is going to be based in some ways upon the system that we use in the Fretboard Freedom Master Plan. If you guys haven't checked it out already, I'm going to encourage you to do so. I think it's a lot of fun. Now, before we go any further, we're going to talk about guitars. We're going to say hello to some folks who are tuning in. We'll say hi to our regular members. But first of all, a little word on the guitar I'm playing. This is a guitar that I haven't played for a little while. It's my PRS Custom 22. You guys like this guitar. Whenever I play it on stream, folks love this instrument for some reason. I love it too. This is my #1 PRS, right? I've got several PRS. This is my favorite PRS, and it's the one that I've had the longest. But bizarrely, because it's my favorite PRS, I don't play it very often. I seem to play it on special occasions, and I only really play it if, I guess, if the occasion calls for it, which is kind of strange because you think I'd pick it up more if it's my favorite, but I reach for some of the other ones usually because I'm like, oh, well, I can't play the red one for this. The red one is for special stuff. Then I should really play it more. I think it's a wonderful instrument. It's 2002. I've had this since I was 25. I'm 41 now, which is crazy. It's the first PRS I ever got. It's been refretted with huge stainless steel frets. It's got a pair of Bulldog pickups, Black Label and Extremist humbuckers. Very cool. Love this guitar. And I want to know from you, dear friend, what guitar are you playing today? So we're going to check in with the chat and see what instruments we have in the chat, in the comment section. So first of all, PJ is the first one in. PJ, it's great to see you. Timothy Appling is here, as is Larry Warren, Response Audio, Sacred Godslayer, and Crankatom, who's tuning in from a road trip in France. Crankatom doesn't half get around. I'm envious of your continuous travel, my man, but hey, I love to hear about the places that you've been. So yes, enjoy France. France is a lovely country. Unstable Wi-Fi situation means he's going to catch us on the replay. You can catch us on the replay too, friends. Now, Fog Hornish is in the house. Dreams is tuning in. Helmet Straps here. Mark McNish is here, as is Kate Strange. Our friend Steve Luth, who shouldn't be embarrassed. He's called me a name that's not my name, but that's okay, man. Autocorrect is a pain in the neck. So that's all right, man. I hear you. Peter Montague is tuning in from Pamplona in Spain. Lovely part of the universe. Marcin is here. Mike Seedorf is tuning in. Mike, it's great to have you on board. Catmandu 1962 is tuning in. He's playing an American Pro 2. The colour is a dark night. Very cool. But I want to know, what kind of Fender? Is it a Tele? Is it a Jazzmaster? Is it a Strat? We want to know these things. These things keep us awake at night. Franz is here. Block 18 is here. Trollsjan is here. I keep butchering your name. I apologise. Timothy Appling says, what are the crowns with the number? I actually don't know what that means. No idea. Not the faintest. Shadrach is tuning in. PGRO is here. The classical shred class has begun. Hope so. Yeah. Trollston is playing an Ibanez Prestige Uppercut. Very nice. We like a bit of Ibanez in this universe. Dreams has presented us with a little tip. That's very kind of you, my man. Thank you very much. I'm going to spend that on coffee. I don't need any more coffee today, but that is really kind of you, man. Thank you very much. Let's say some more quick hellos. Victor Zika is tuning in. Caffeine Thug is playing his Charvel DK24. Very cool. Dreams is playing a PRS SE Hollow Body 2. Very nice. We like a bit of that. We like a bit of that. With some side-eye from the telly. Got some tellies kicking around over here. This is my buddy John's telly. I like this guitar an awful lot, right? That is John's, what is it? It's an American... wow, I'm not sure. Hot Rod 2, 52 Hot Rod. That's what it is. American Deluxe, I think, 52 Hot Rod. I'm not sure. It might be American Vintage. They keep changing the names. It's quite an old telly, as tellies go, but not old in the sense of, like, you know, 50s telly or anything. Cool guitar though, but I'm really thinking about talking about PRS and piezos. I'm really thinking about a piezo bridge for this guitar because the bridge is a little bit worn out, so maybe we'll get to that. Peter Montague is playing a Fender Lead 1. Very cool. Raphael's back in the house. It's lovely to have you back. Mike Cedo's playing his Ibanez RG565 reissue. Very cool. I should get my RG done up again. My RG is just lurking up here. In case you guys are wondering, that's the next guitar for some stuff. Shacked today with some superb Fishman active pickups and stupid big frets. A guitar that sounds like a guitar I'd like. Right, I like all of those things. Very cool. We got an SG Special. We got a PRS SE with a Floyd Rose. Super cool. We got a Strat. Yes, nice. Very nice. We got an Ormsby GTR SX. Fancy. Very nice. A PRS Custom 24. An Angus Young signature. And what else do we have? Ibanez. Ooh, I don't even know what this is. Deb E. I don't know what that is. QC. Very cool. Gibson Ebony Studio. And last but not least, a question. Have you ever played a Blade RH4? I actually have. One of my students, Liam, has just such an instrument, and it's fabulous. Really, really nice. Can't say much more than that. Haven't spent a huge amount of time with it, but it's super freaking cool. Anyway, that's our guitars. We have guitars and laps. We're going to need guitars because we're going to play some, not necessarily shred, but shred is welcome, let's say. So shred is definitely an option for this. Now, before we go any further, let's very quickly reassess what our harmonic minor is. I'm going to do a very quick recap for you guys by taking a look at the pentatonic scale, expanding it into the minor scale, then expanding that into the harmonic minor scale. Let's go to a clean tone. I think I shall use my PRS Archon for this. Lovely sounding clean, just a richness of amps. Anyway, harmonic minor, very quickly. You know what? I'm going to bring this camera in a little bit because I want to see the fretboard a little bit more clearly. So I'm just going to punch that in a little bit tighter. We can do those things. That's better. Okay, so we'll begin with the key of A. Starting in A, here is our A minor pentatonic scale. Hopefully, if you're here, you know what that means, right? So we're going to start up here with this A note. This is going to be a little nexus for where we begin with this visualization stuff. Fortness from shred is absolutely correct with the Aeolian mode or natural minor with a raised seventh. And I'm going to show you how to get there. So if we begin with this as our root note, there's A. This is a flat third root. This note is going to be our flat 7. We'll need to change that in a moment. And then we have a 5, a 4, flat 3, and then back to 1. So it's flat 3, 1, flat 7, 5, 4, flat 3, back to 1. Let's plug in some notes to turn this into a natural minor scale. We'll plug in this note here, which is the second, to give us 3, 2, 1. We'll plug in this note here, which is the flat 6. So we have flat 3, 2, 1, flat 7, flat 6, 5, 4, flat 3. We can have a 2 here, and this can be 1, which gives us this. That is 1 octave and a little bit of our natural minor scale. The formula for this is 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, flat 7. If we take the flat 7 and we raise it by 1 semitone, we move it from fret 8 up to fret number 9, we get the harmonic minor scale. We also get this rather unfortunate fingering, which is one of the obstacles we face when we play the harmonic minor. Now it gives us this: 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5, flat 6, raise 7, yak. 1, 2, flat 3, etc. Now we could play that to our heart's content. But truthfully, bit of a pain in the neck, right? And we're going to get into why. We're getting into why it's a pain in the neck and why we might want to play it a different way in just a second. We've got a question from Mike Seedoff saying, what's the difference between the diminished harmonic minor and harmonic minor? As far as I'm aware, I don't think there is a difference. I think it's the same thing. I've never come across a diminished harmonic minor before. I'm going to actually do a very quick Google search on that. Let's see. Diminished harmonic minor, because I'm not actually sure if I'm missing something here. Yeah, diminished harmonic minor is somewhat ambiguous. Could refer to, yeah, I don't think it's a difference, man. I think it's the same thing. So what you might be referring to is the diminished arpeggio built within the harmonic minor, or as Andrew Hoggs rightly pointed out, it could be with a flat 5. That'd be an interesting sound. Could be, but that is not our concern for the day. Now, anyway, one of the facets of the harmonic minor, because we have this flat 6 and this raised 7, is the inclusion of this 3 fret interval that we don't see in scales derived from the major scale, like our modes that we talk about when we talk about the modes. There are several modes, several places we can derive modes from. This is just one of them, but this interval here, which is, you could say, a minor third interval, it's actually an augmented second. It's quite an unfortunate interval for us to play, especially if we play 5, flat 6, and then 7. It's not so bad if you play flat 6, 7, 1, but it can be a bit of a pain in the neck. Now, it's okay higher up the neck, where the frets are closer, and it's also okay on the higher strings. But when we get down here and start playing this interval down here, yak. Bit of a pain, bit of a pain. We're going to quickly head this one off as well. Justin Ray's asking the question, isn't there a rule where you play harmonic minor ascending but change to natural minor descending? What you're thinking of there, Justin, is the melodic minor, and that's only when it's used. It's only when it's used in classical music. So you can ignore that rule in contemporary music like jazz, rock, pop, fusion, funk, blues, disco, anywhere else you'd use harmonic minor. It's an archaic rule. We don't use that rule anymore, but for some reason people teach it. But it's very common to play the melodic minor descending in jazz and other places that we tend to use melodic minor. In contemporary music, it's different when it comes to classical things for obvious reasons, or as Sacred God says rightly pointed out, Baroque stuff. So anyway, let's get back into our harmonic minor. We're going to try playing this in a slightly different way, and we're going to begin by playing this up a single string. Now, this is an interesting and useful way to navigate a harmonic minor, but also to explore this in a useful Malmsteen-esque way. This is one pathway that guitar players tend to navigate the harmonic minor. We're going to begin with the same top end that we had before, where we had A, this is our 2, there's our flat 3. So we can play this. A useful way to sequence this might be to play this, 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 this. From here we can move to the next grouping of notes in our scale. So this would give us 5, 7, and then 8. We can then slide our first finger up to the next note. If we call these notes low, middle, and high, the note that, our finger that was on low now goes to the note that used to be middle. So now we have 7, 8, and 10. This gives us 2, flat 3, and 4. And again, we can sequence it like this. Low, middle, high, low, middle, high, low. Our next position will be the 3, the 4, and the 5 on frets 8, 10, and 12. So we get this. Again, a useful way to play this stuff. We can then slide up so that the notes that were middle and high now become low and middle, which gives us 4, 5, and flat 6. Again, sequencing it the same way. This is where things start to get very harmonic minor-y, because we can go to our 5, which is on fret 12, 6, flat 6, which is going to be on fret number 13, and then our raised 7, which is going to be up here on fret number 16. Now this is an interesting beast, because this is going to show us where this crucial interval of the raised 7 is in relation to our root. So we get this, which is going to be frets 12, 13, 16, 12. Then we have 13, 16, 17, which is flat 6, raised 7, and then root. And then finally, raised 7, root, and 2, which would give us this. Now, if you play one lick, and only one lick with harmonic minor, this is a good place to begin. It's super Malmsteen-y, right? Super Malmsteen-y. We got a request coming in. Unfortunately, we don't do song requests here, my man. We're going to get copyright struck if we do. But thank you, but we don't do song requests. That sort of stuff happens on Twitch. This is an educational stream. So anyway, the neoclassical shred fest that we've got going on here, right? This is one of my favorite backing tracks that we got, and it is largely based around A harmonic minor. It can also function as E Phrygian dominant. The same lick that we just played, though, will work really well over this track. And so on and so forth. Let me show you the lick, and then we're going to give you a chance to play around with this. So if I play this, that's quite quick, so quite hard to see what's going on here. We can also have some reverse version of this where we go like this. Now this is a lot of fun because it gives us a chance to play this all up and down one string. We're going to take turns on this, so grab your guitar. I'm going to go first. You take a turn. Again, we're using the A harmonic minor scale up a single string. You can play whatever you want in this. You don't have to play the lick in the order. You can just find a way around the scale as your heart pleases. I'm going to go like this. Your turn. You get the good bit. It's all good bit, but you get the good bit. Now, one last little bit of fun with this. Let's try playing. This is a bit of fun. The open string against these notes. So we might get this. You take a turn. Now, this is a fun way, a very fun way to navigate the harmonic minor scale. I'm going to cut you off at the end of this track, right about here, at the end of this pass. There we go. Now, that is a fun part, but I'm going to cut you off there. Now, this is a really fun way to navigate the scale because it gives us a chance to visualize it up a single string, and that is very useful. But what you might have noticed is that there are some parts of this that are definitely easier than others. And I want to draw your attention to this little nucleus right here. This is an important part. So if we go to this bit right here, there we have our root note, our second, our flat third, and down here, 1 fret below our root note, we have the raised seventh. This is important, right? This is important. So, if we go down to our root note here, we can have root, 2, flat 3, 2, 1, raised 7. The raised 7 is 1 semitone below our root. Which means, whenever we find our root note, in addition to playing the 2 and 3, 2 frets and 3 frets above respectively, we can also go 1 fret below to play our flat 7, our raised 7 rather. This is important because it allows us to now visualize this from any given root note. And if we take the root note of A as our example, we could play this A here. We can play root, 2, 3, flat 3, 2, root, raised 7, root. We can also do it of this root here. It is the same from every root note that we play. There's our A note. These notes will always orbit these root notes in the same place. Here's another place. What this gives us is the capacity to play this from any A. And once we have this A, we've already played 4 notes of our scale. We then need the remaining 3 notes, there are 7 notes in this scale in total, to have a complete cell of this scale. I'm going to show you where they are. Watch this. We have flat, raised 7, root, flat 2, sorry, 2, I keep saying the wrong names, raised 7, 1, 2, flat 3. That is 5, 7, and 8 with 4 below. On the next string, fret 5, fret 7, fret 8. What have we got? We've got 4, we've got 5, we've got flat 6. This is a little cellular part of the harmonic minor. It is 1 octave of harmonic minor with no stretches. You will notice there are 0 stretches in this. A quick reminder, in essence, put your first finger on the root note, then we have finger 1, 3, and 4, 1, 3, and 4, and then below the root we have 1 semitone. We can now play this from any A note. Here is another A note. Here's another A note. Any A note we find, we can play this scale from. And that's what we're going to do. So let's quickly throw this on and we'll start to plug this together. Notice that we now have the ability to play from this A, this A, this A, and on and on and on. We can go all the way across the guitar's fretboard. I'll show you some more places to play this as we go. But first, the big lead sound and the big backing track. We're getting a bit shreddy away with ourselves there. There's another A here. Here's another A. You have a turn exploring these different positions and see how it sounds when you play them. Remember, it all starts with finger number 1 on your A. That is the root notes. All of these other notes, all these other shapes, orbit the root notes. Now what we also glean from this is we now get a scale shape that connects. Because all we need to do is connect this portion of the scale to this A, and we do it with our first finger, which we can then slide up. But it's not just these A's we can play from. I'll show you that in a second. Now, why is this potentially, I'm going to stop on this track, why is this potentially a more useful way to play the harmonic minor? Well, the first thing about it is it eliminates these awful stretches that we may or may not be able to do. Now, I'm not saying to never play these stretches. Of course, I play them. You've watched me play them. People do play them, but what people will rarely do, and this is just one of these strange things that I've noticed, certainly in the shred domain, folks will very rarely play harmonic minor scale shapes that contain these stretches in the middle of them, right? And what I mean by that is we'll very rarely play something which is equivalent to, let's say we're playing a natural minor scale and we were going to play this. A 3-note per string natural minor scale. Again in the key of A. Very rarely will we play this. Because it's awkward. It is awkward. And you find this in the way folks tend to phrase harmonic minor, certainly at speed. If you want to play any of the Malmsteen stuff in particular, this cellular approach is not only super comfortable, but it is very, 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 very endemic of that style. You know, we hear this kind of little cells of harmonic minor sequenced round and round and round and round and round, certainly in Yngwie's playing, but in all the other players, a lot of the other players, Mike Seedorf was mentioned, like Michael Romeo, what a player, my goodness, Sean Lane, Lee Ferguson, absolutely, 100%, right, Tony McAlpine, beautiful, beautiful players, right? So this is, as Nick Harrison has rightly pointed out, very Yngwie / cacophony. Yeah, sure, because it feels nice. Now, it is a nice way to play this scale. Of course, what we can also do is we can then extend this from other A's. So all we have to do is find an A, and we have these scales to our heart's content. Literally, it is as simple as that. You find a root note, and you orbit the cell that you're playing around the root note. So another example might be here. This is another A. There's our 12th fret A on the A string. There's our next A, 14th fret on the G string. Now what did I do there? I had to move a semitone to compensate for the B string's tuning. We talk about this all the time here, but when we get to the B string, all we're doing is we're moving up a semitone. The shapes essentially remain the same. They look different, but they remain the same because we have to compensate a semitone because the B string is tuned differently. By the way, I just want to head up this comment from a well-meaning individual. Thank you very much for pointing this out. I've lost it, but a well-meaning friend who was pointing out that my guitar is out of tune. My guitar is not out of tune. I'm probably just playing out of tune. Shoshana Steads, thank you very much. I appreciate the tip off, but the guitar is in tune, I promise. I'm probably just playing it badly. Anyway, so starting on this A, we can play here. Now, there are some useful sequences that we can play, but here all I'm doing is combining this cell, and the start of this cell. If I played it starting here on the open A string, you get the same thing. Same thing, right? That is literally all there is to it. And you could live a full and complete harmonic minor life with just these shapes. But there are some other ones we can play. And I'm going to show you a favorite of mine, which is to access our third elsewhere. Now, I'm going to show you how this pertains to this shape. If we take this cellular approach, here's A, there's raised 7, there's A, there's raised 7, there's A. If on this top cell, instead of going up here and finding our third on the 13th fret, rather than sliding, we can play our second finger on the A, fourth finger on the third, the second, and we can easily access the flat third here. It is 1 fret back from where we find the 7, and we get this stretchy shape where we get raised 7, 1, 2, flat 3, 4, 5. It is another cell that orbits this A. Now, if we were to put this in context with this, it's a slightly different cell at the top, but it works really, really well. But these cells also work around any A. In this case, the middle finger is on the A. Fell off the string there for a second. Let me show you how this works, again, in context. And here we have a slightly more expanded harmonic minor, where we can play not just this one scale shape, but now in addition to this, we can also play this. In the next position, there is our A. Down the raised 7. I can now access my third here. Middle finger, third. Well, now we've got so many possibilities, and we're going to talk about sequencing in them in a moment. So when I'm playing these harmonic minor licks, these fast runs, and all this sort of business, a lot of the time that's what I'm doing. The reason I'm choosing to play this particular little cellular pattern is because it avoids having to play this awkward, horrible stretch. that we talked about. But the stretch is not always horrible. Sometimes the stretch is the very thing, right? Sometimes it's exactly what we want. And I'm going to show you how to employ this in some useful ways in just a second. But if you're enjoying what we've got going on here, I want to take a moment to show you this once again. This, in case you missed it, is the Fretboard Freedom Master Plan. I lost the tab there for a second. Fretboard Freedom Master Plan. This is a course that I have created with folks down at Lick Library, which uses this approach of root note and notes orbiting the root, notes around the root note, to give you a really easy way to visualize this stuff all across the guitar's neck. There we go, pentatonic scale across the whole neck. What else do we have? Modes as formulae, arpeggios and chords as mini scales. It's a lot of fun, right? It's a lot of fun. And we also show you how to use this stuff in context. This is available to Lick Library members. I'm even playing the same guitar there. Although I had a bit less grey hair at the time. Maybe it's time to reach for the Just for Men. Perhaps not. I don't think so. I think we've gone past that point a long time ago. Anyway, it wasn't even that long ago I filmed the course, but it probably was a little while ago that I shot the promo photo. I've been using that photo for a while. Shoot me. Anyway, so we're going to move on to some slightly more stretchy shapes in just a second. But if you're enjoying this video, don't forget, give this video a thumbs up, share it with your guitar playing friends. We want to reach as many guitar players as we possibly can with this stuff, so we can make as many of you guys a better guitar player as we can. Anyway, on with the show. So I said these licks are useful because it avoids playing these horrible stretchy shapes, and it is useful for that, but it's not the only way to play this stuff. And of course, sometimes we want to play these hideous, horrible, stretchy shapes. And when do we play them? Well, for me, and for the good Mr. Malmsteen, usually on the treble strings, which is why I showed you this shape. This up the string thing. Usually we play them on the treble strings because this is an easier stretch than, say, this. Yak. Not much fun. Now, if you've got big hands, fine. If you can get your elbow right down here, so it's kind of underneath the guitar's fretboard, fine. But generally speaking, playing it at shred speeds, I'll do it if I have to, but I'd really rather not. So, when do we apply this? Well, you might be familiar with the song Far Beyond the Sun by our man Yngwie J. Malmsteen. We went light on the Malmsteen in the last stream, so we're going to go a little heavier on the Malmsteen today. But you may be familiar with this. By the way, this down here, there's F sharp. That is the cell we've just played. But we have this lick. I need to give up playing it with the Yngwie picking pattern. There it is. Just takes a bit of dialing. That lick there, a common Malmsteenism. What is going on here? Well, we have, down at the bottom, the cell that we just talked about. Up here, we have the same cell that we just talked about, but we're reaching back to get our third. Now it looks a little different because if we played it here, we wouldn't have to play it on the same fret because we wouldn't have to compensate for the B string. But what we're getting here is we're getting 9, 11, 12, 9, 11, 12, 10, 11, 13, 10 again, 12, 14, this is an F sharp. And then at the top, 6, flat 6 rather, raise 7, pinky finger on the root. It feels a lot nicer. It feels a lot nicer on the high strings. Now, that is not to say that you will never use this on the low strings. Far from it. You can play it wherever you want. But personally, I find this position, especially live when I'm standing up, much more palatable on the treble strings. Now, where does this live in our key of A? Well, if this is our root note, then it lives here. We take a root note and we hang it from there. So here we can have this stretch shape on the string above our reach back cell. So if we take this A here, there is our cell. Here is the reach back cell. And on the string above it, there is the stretch. Not super comfortable down here. We do play it occasionally, but it's not the most comfy thing in the world. Little cheat in there. I'll show you that later if you want. If you're interested in that, there's a little cheat I'll show you, but we'll get to that. So it's very much an Yngwie thing. Now this gives you yet more places that you can play the harmonic minor scale. Yet more places. However, it's not necessarily about how many places you can play this, but can you play it in ways that are useful and that are interesting and that make sense when you're soloing with it. And this is where sequencing comes in. So, as with any other 3-note per string scale shape, we can apply all of the sequences that we already know to our harmonic minor. And there are some very cool and very useful ones that we can play with our initial cell. And I'll show you some of these right now. So the initial cell may look, in fact, you know what it is? I'm going to go to the two hands cameras. Apologies, there's been no face for a while, which I'm sure nobody's upset about. But anyway, if we begin with this cell down here, we can play some very useful shapes where we start by playing the low part of our cell, and then we move up to the next higher part of the cell. This is the 4-note part of the cell. So that's a fun one, where we play it's low, middle, high, middle, low, slide up the frets, low, middle, high. Is it the only one of these we can play? Absolutely not. There are loads we can play. So we can play low, middle, high, low, low, middle, high, low. That works really well. There's another really fun one. Within this little cell, we can play this thoroughly entertaining little figure, which is very Yngwie indeed, where we play low, middle, high, low, middle, low on the previous string, low, middle, high. And that same sequence can be threaded all the way through this scale shape, and it can be threaded through any of these scale shapes. Let me show you the picking for this, because the picking is really fun and really useful. Now what we're dealing with here is a downward pick slanting, upstroke escape, economy picking approach. Very complex. Check out our streams that we did on picking if you're interested in learning more about that. But what we might get is this. We might get down, up, down with a rest stroke on the A string. Then we play through the A string, down, up. The pick is now up in the air. It's free to leave the strings, which we can use to play another downstroke on the E string. starts with a down. We can then follow through with another down, up, down. So we've just played our rest stroke. This can continue across as many sets of strings as you want and as many parts of the cell as you want. Let me put this into action for you, along with the backing track. I'll start by playing it a little more slowly, and then I'll show you how it goes together at more of an accelerated speed. So if we start here, again, already it sounds Swedish. Same thing across multiple cells. With the reach back cell, I'll show you some descending stuff in a moment, but this can be applied to any position where you can find the harmonic minor. There, for example. Here it is again. Now, here's another fun thing that we can do with our harmonic minor, because the harmonic minor has loads of places where we can play semitones. We can play a semitone interval next to another semitone interval. I want to highlight this, by the way, as well, from my friend Dreams, who's saying panic chords. Now, this is something, right, I'm going to show my age here, my students have told me about. And it is this, it's this. It's really good fun, right? It just sounds like, on a down-tuned guitar, if I had my 7-string handy, it's all the way back there. If I had the 7-string handy, that would sound really cool. You tug on some low chords and then you play this. Very, very, very interesting sound. For anybody who's wondering, it's 2 notes on adjacent strings. You can play them other ways, but 2 notes on adjacent strings that are a semitone apart. Which leads me to the semitone thing. Now, in the harmonic minor, if we have ourselves a look at where we can find some semitones, there are 3 places. This is really cool, right? This is really cool. There's one either side of each of the notes, not either sides, but one adjacent to each of the notes of our A minor triad, in this case, which is the home triad of the harmonic minor. Or, if you're playing an E major triad, which is, to give us Phrygian dominance, the same thing. So there is a semitone on either side of it. So if we take this A minor triad here, we have A, flat 3, and 5. Now, excluding the 4, which we can play here, we can consider this to be an A minor triad bracketed by semitones. Or it could be an F triad bracketed by semitones. Or an E triad also bracketed by semitones. The lonely D thrown in for good measure. But why not, right? Why not? It's a 7-note scale, not a 6-note scale. What this gives us is it gives us the capacity to really lean on these semitone intervals. Now, if you are playing, you would have seen me playing this up here. If I'm playing this cell, starting on my high A, I play this an awful lot. Now, that lick there is ascending up the cell And then I'm playing this note bent from a semitone below to get this doubled up kind of sound. And then I'm also playing between these two semitones, Eugene's trick bag style, and the note that's below it. Now you can do this on any of the semitones. Any of these semitone pairs, they're really good fun to play against. You can trill them. You can do these little whip bends, these Steve Morse type things if you want. You can emphasize them the way we just played them. It might look like this. Loads of fun. And if you know where the A's are, it's easy to find. We can do the bends like this. Tons of fun. Just endless fun. So semitones are really great. We can locate them in all the places we just found. Now, folks, this is by no means the only way to play harmonic minor. Far from it. But it's just a useful way of locating these notes and being able to find them at speed in ways that are easy-ish to phrase through. But I'm sure you have questions, so let's answer them. Drop questions down below. If you got questions, I want to hear from you. A quick reminder, by the way, today's course is brought to you by our friends at licklibrary.com. Don't forget to go and check out the Fretboard Freedom Master Plan available to Lick Library members. It's going to answer all your questions about all this stuff. Look, there's a picture of me. That was taken a while ago. That guitar has now got different pickups. It doesn't have a feather anymore. And it also has different pickup rings, a few more rashes. That's my Fluence guitar. I might return it to those cream rings though. It looks nice. Anyway, doesn't really matter, but this is going to answer all of your questions regarding fretboard visualization. So go grab that. It's a lot of fun, right? But I want to hear from you guys. I want to know what your questions are. We're going to answer as many of them as we can. Okay, lots of nice PRS guitars, but is the old Ibanez fixed, says Marcin. It is not, I'm afraid. It's still looking and, dare I say, sounding somewhat sad. I'm going to bring it down here. This is my old Ibanez RG. I loved this guitar. Still do love this guitar. What I'm going to do for you guys is I'm going to plug it in and see what it does, right? I'm going to plug it in and see what it does. Because why not? We got a question from Nick Harrison asking what my favorite mode of the harmonic minor is. It's Dorian Sharp 4. All day. It's the grunge mode. All day. But yeah, let's see if this actually makes a sound, because the pickup switch is very sad. Or kinda. Poor guy. I think it's mostly dead. I think it's mostly dead. It needs some new electronics. That's about it. I think it's maybe the jack socket that's a bit messed up, so if I hold it straight. Now, okay, this is testimony. This is testimony to the wonders of Ibanez and their double locking tremolo systems, because this guitar has not been played in about, Lord, I don't know, at least 10 years. It has not been plugged in. At least 10 years. Probably more like 15. And it's in tune. Nuts, right? These strings have got to be about, I'm a 10-year-old. It's in tune. There you go. Marcin, I'll fix it. It's a really cool guitar, man. I do like it. I love it to death, right? It's a great guitar. Is it the best sounding guitar I own? Probably not. Is it one of the better looking guitars I own? For sure, right, for sure. It needs some Fishmans. I think it does indeed need some Fishmans, right? Big fan of that. We got some love for the low pro edges. They are really, really sick, right? Like an awful lot of that. So here's one from Dreams, on not so much a question, but a statement, saying he's been struggling with the high tempo, but your lessons on playing relaxed a couple of weeks ago just works wonders. Well, thanks, man. I think it is really important, right? The relaxation stuff, especially if you're going to try and do this high speed nonsense, the relaxation, super, super important, like beyond important, because when you engage the, I'm going to go a little bit nerdy on this, right? So I'll preface this by saying we're going to nerd out a little bit. I don't know how much you guys know about the way the physiology of the hand works, but essentially we have two kinds of grip pattern that we can use. One is the precision grip, which is generally a fingertip grip. So if I grab something handy, let's grab this Shadow Hawk flashlight that my friend Eric got me as a gift, because Eric is the man and he buys us these cool little things. Eric's the sound engineer for my band, and he's done some stuff, let me tell you, right? And not just in the domain of music. He was in the armed forces, done all sorts of crazy things that he tells me stories about, but he bought me this anyway. The way that I would use my hand to grip this, were I to manipulate it and, you know, move it around in space, is very different from the way I would hold it if somebody said to me, hold on to this for dear life, or try and crush this in your hand. Notice I'm holding it with my fingertips, right? I'm using what we would call the precision grip. Now, this is a pattern of grip that is relaxed, precise, and allows for very fine motor control. As soon as we start to grip things like this is what we call the power grip, which is another way of holding onto things. You'll notice I'm now holding this in my whole hand. And as soon as I start to engage the power grip pattern, especially if, like me, you have quite well-developed grip strength, you guys know I compete in strength sports, if you are someone that has a very powerful grip, as soon as you engage this power gripping kind of patterning in your hands, your ability to play with precision and play with speed, or your ability to manipulate things with speed and with precision, essentially goes out of the window. But my goodness, can you hold on to things? If somebody said to you, you were going to hold on to this chin-up bar, there's a bar, and below the bar are sharks, and you got to hold on to this for dear life, you would hold it like, you wouldn't hold the bar like this. You wouldn't be manipulating it in your hands, you'd be, hold on to it like this. This extends, by the way, like that, for dear life. However, when we start to play with tension in the hands, for want of a better word, we need a certain degree of tension in the hand to actually get the string onto the fret, but it's small. When we start to play with the power grip patterning and the power gripping pattern, I keep saying pattern, but that's kind of what it is. When the power grip starts to switch on, our ability to play with precision goes completely out of the window. So when we want to play fast, we must be using a gripping style that is the precision grip. Now, how do you get the precision grip? You relax. That's all there is to it, right? To have a relaxed and a deliberately gentle touch on the guitar, almost like you're kind of just manipulating it like you would if you were manipulating a small object and looking at it and going, this is interesting. This piece of fruit looks delicious. It's not this piece of fruit looks delicious. That style of touching the guitar and that mindset when it comes to touching the guitar, extremely important. Now, I am by no means an expert on this stuff, but here is an interesting one from PJ, saying his is monkey or vice and no in between. These are the grips. I totally hear you, man. I totally hear you. But like, all humans have the capability of the precision grip, which is one of the reasons why we have things like iPhones and electric guitars, because unlike other mammals, we have these beautiful opposable thumbs that enable us to have this precision gripping style. So that is really where the relaxation thing comes from. I'm going to encourage you folks at your leisure to examine the power grip and the precision grip and pay attention to when the power grip comes in your own playing. I've noticed it myself, and I've actually started using lighter strings to try and force myself into a precision grip. This sounds like a strange thing to say, but I'm using lighter strings because my hands are stronger now. What? I hear you say. Well, because my hands are stronger, the power grip wants to come on. It wants to switch on more often because I'm gripping things in the gym. I have quite a strong grip. It's definitely not an issue for me. So what I'm doing is to force myself to have this precision touch on the guitar. I'm now playing with a lighter string gauge. And the result is, in addition to having nice tone, I think lighter strings generally sound a little better, certainly in a mix, because they're brighter. Lighter strings usually have less low end. Less low end is desirable in a guitar in a mix. Solo, whatever. I also don't think light strings, I get a tirade about this, I also don't think light strings sound quite so good when you're playing in the room, but when you play them through headphones, or you play them on a recording, you play them live, anytime you can't hear the clackety-clack of the strings as you're playing them, light strings do tend to sound really nice. But I also gain an extra little bit of vibrato control on the top. So the strings we're playing now are 9, 12, 16, 24, 32, 44. Essentially, it's a 9 set with a heavier B and a heavier low E for more balance, and then a slightly heavier string on the bottom. So in case I do bash, it doesn't go too far out of tune. Anyway, folks, that's been a discussion on harmonic minor. This will be the last we talk about it for a while, but we are going to continue our discussion on fretboard visualization for the next few weeks. Don't forget to go and check out the Fretboard Freedom Master Plan. Lick Library members, you get it as part of your membership. If you're not a Lick Library member, maybe today is the day where you think about signing up. Folks, once again, this has been a lot of fun. My name's Nick Jennison. It's been the Monday Guitar Show, brought to you by Lick Library and GuitarInteractiveMagazine.com. Go to licklibrary.com for lessons, GuitarInteractiveMagazine.com for reviews, news, all the other good stuff. Play some harmonic minor. I love it. I'm going to play some harmonic minor on the way out, but I'm going to ditch that track and play the one we played in the intro because it is great fun. This is another track that's available on licklibrary.com. It's in the key of D, Phrygian dominant, which we know is G harmonic minor turned on its head with D as the root note. See how many of the tropes that we played today that you can spot in this little outro jam. My name's Nick Jennison. See you guys next week.